Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Points, and this isn't the first time I've actually tried to record this. And I say I tried as if I failed. I did actually record it, and I actually think I did a pretty good job, but I've decided to wait and re-record it because this episode is called The Impending Video Game Crash, and there's no way I could actually prove when I'd recorded the last time I did this anyway, but it was before the Blue Point shut down and before High Guard had shut down, and it was so obvious those things were going to happen. Not so much Blue Point specifically, but the High Guard thing and just the state of the industry. It got to the point where there was genuinely so many signs coming that things were going to continue to get worse that I'm like, you know what, let's wait a couple of months to actually record this and record it again and see the state of the industry. And yeah, the episode being entitled The Impending Video Game Crash, I am beyond positive it's coming sooner rather than later, and I'm going to walk through some things that we've definitely been noticing as a trend, like as the collective of gamers essentially. This is from not just my own viewpoints, but from a lot of places, and I'm also going to bring up the fact that I think I know the game that's actually going to be responsible for it, and I will explain why I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to actually cause this. And I'm also going to try to explain where there's some hope in the fact that when I say crash, and when a lot of people say crash, maybe they mean crash, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what happened in the 80s, for example. So let's start, though, with the fact that we are, as a society, getting worse. We just are, and I don't want to go fully political with all of this, but there is a reason that there's a bunch of fascism starting to trend again. There's a lot of spaces that we're finding a lot of people who really do not deserve a safe space are encroaching into a lot of things. With games, we have a lot of anti-woke people, and reminder for anyone who doesn't actually seem to understand what wokeism is, if you disagree with woke, you are a fascist. That's just no ifs, ands, or fucking buts. Like, woke is a bullshit made-up word. Well, to be fair, it wasn't a bullshit made-up word. It was a decent made-up word that was then claimed by a bunch of people for bullshit reasons, purely to point a boogeyman, essentially, at how dare anyone or anything be progressive. So, being against progressiveness is actually bad to, humanity as a whole. That's kind of the whole point of humanity. Someone ate a plant, died from poison, and it's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that. And that's what's supposed to happen with the likes of fascism. It happens, we witness it happening, and then Germany spends the last 20 years telling everyone, hey, things are kind of starting to get fucked, like when, we fell into fascism. I've got German friends who've been telling me this for decades. So that's like that side of this video out of the way. The reason I'm even bringing that up is we have a contingent of gamers who, if anything at all comes out that isn't designed 100% for them, they cry woke, and they cry and complain and try to get it cancelled, and they've successfully managed to tank Concord and High Guard. I had no interest in playing either of those games. They are not something that I will ever would have played, to be honest. I realised I should be using past tense because both are dead now. I do not play online competitive shooters. I do not like team-based shooters like that. I really couldn't get into the likes of Overwatch when it came out. I was always a Battleborn person. Yes, genuinely, I liked the game that got killed more than the game that was actually successful. But at no point, when anything comes out, outside of major corporations, and it's the major corporations that I want to be heard from this, I don't champion a game being killed. When a game comes out, I don't sit there going, oh my god, Bungie slighted me, I hope Marathon, blows up and fails and Bungie lose everything and everyone loses their jobs. I'm not that kind of fucking person. The only time when I actually do want a game like that to feel is when it's, well, again, for real-world political reasons, like what happened with Harry Potter, for example. Just leaving that there. So, it's one of those things, when a game comes out, I don't sit there rooting for it to feel. At no point, even if it's not for me, I will sit there thinking, yep, that's just not for me, and move on with my day. If it turns out to be something that gains a massive ton of popularity, then great. I'm glad that people actually like it. I cannot stand Call of Duty. I cannot stand most Rockstar games, to be honest. The only genuinely, the only Rockstar game I actually like is Rockstar's Table Tennis. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, and I wish that there was some way to play it. I really do wish they would just do a modern day port of it, because it is genuinely one of the absolute best fucking sports games I've ever played, and that's saying a hell of a lot. But for the most part, I don't like any Rockstar games. There's just something about their engine, how they design their games. It comes off as a very Emperor's New Clothes situation for me. It really does. But loads of people love it. I'm in the minority. I don't sit here thinking, I hope like GTA 6 comes out and absolutely bombs. That's not why I'm making this video. That I'm not saying that it's going to be the reason that the crash is there because of that. It's because of the state of the actual industry at the moment. That on top of having a bunch of gamers out there who love to just cry about absolutely everything that isn't for them and root for its demise to the point of they actually try to help its demise, like what happened with Highguard. Again, never was going to play it, but do not at all understand fully, like, and I need to specify this. I understand, okay? I do actually fully know the whole ins and outs, the nepotism side of things, that people hated the fact that the final game of a show was a multiplayer game and that Keighley had pushed it on the spotlight and all of this. I get that. But at the same time, I don't get it because it's fucking moronic. It just is. To base all of that on why you want a game to fail and for a lot of people to now be out of jobs, and I understand there's a lot of people who are just like, with all multiplayer games, well, that's like time that could be spent making a single player game. Are you really that hard-pressed for games? I've got thousands in my back catalogue. A lot of stuff that I don't even have to pay to access, like the games that I'm currently playing here. And yes, I know it's technically a subscription and all that, but you get my point. I can pay a 1 yearly fee, which is usually relatively cheap thanks to an expansion pack online family pass thing. And I've got loads of games at any one point to play, let alone the stuff that I own in my Steam library and all my other digital libraries. So, when a game comes out that I don't want, instead of rooting for its demise and for its failure, I just don't take any interest in it and I play something else. But unfortunately, we are in a culture at the moment where people love to rave about anything that they dislike, root for its failure, and that then causes all of the issues that we're seeing with mass layoffs and loads of people losing their jobs and people complaining, well, why didn't you make the one single player game that I wanted from you, and all of that stuff. All of this vitriol is a huge part of it. But even worse, as everyone knows, are the billionaires, the millionaires, the fucking corporations, the CEOs, all of the people who deem all of this stuff is only designed to make money. They don't care about actually making a polished product anymore. This is one of the only art forms you can kind of get away with this. You can't release a movie in a half-assed state and just keep adding to it. You can't release, like, a portrait that you have drawn on canvas and just do constant updates to it. But in games, we've got to a point where investors will put the money in, dev teams will actually make the game. If it comes out and it's making money and feels like it's going to make a lot of money, then they'll put more resources and time into it, and then they'll try to make it better, and then they'll... Everything is all about the bottom line, about the profit that they make. It's all bullshit. So, how do I feel GTA 6 is going to actually cause this crash? GTA makes more money than anything. Like, the actual richest franchises on the planet is Pokemon and then Disney, but in gaming terms, GTA 5, it's been in, like, the video game charts for over a decade now, since it came out. It never really leaves the video game charts of top 10 sellers, or it might be the top 100 or something. I do actually watch a podcast that goes through the monthly charts every, month, and GTA is always in there. And on top of that, they sell so many shark cards, it's unbelievable. They're actually the corporation, by the way. Rockstar are the people that you should thank for all of the scummy microtransactions in games, because as much as Overwatch is the one that gets the bad rap, and don't get me wrong, Blizzard are evil and awful, Rockstar did this shit first. No one seems to like to remember that, though. And again, this is what I mean with the Emperor's New Clothes. It feels like Rockstar get a pass on a lot of stuff. Like, they've literally just fired a bunch of people for unionising. And yeah, the more and more I start to actually spell this out, hopefully you're starting to see why I feel GTA 6 is going to be the reason that we get this crash. It will be projected to make gazillions. It will come out making only a mere pittance of that, of gajillions. Both made up words. At least as far as I'm aware, they're both made up words. And despite making more money than anything else, it'll have been projected to make even more money. They'll come out, they'll fire a bunch of people, because of course they will. Because that's what you do after you've just made more money than any franchise in the history of anything. The fact that they've just fired a bunch of unionized people is kind of screaming that, yeah, they're getting ready to lay people off en masse. And that's why they don't want people unionizing. And the people unionizing clearly are realizing, yeah, we're going to get fired as soon as this game ships, no matter how much money it makes. So, when even more money than anything in the history of the universe isn't enough, investors everywhere are going to shit themselves. They're going to pull out en masse. They're going to back the new thing, the new shiny, which is EI, which a lot of people are already doing anyway, causing yet more closures, causing yet more studios being shut down. I fear for the likes of Square Enix, because they're already in real trouble and struggling. Ubisoft, I don't fear for them. They're dead. I'm pretty sure they're going to be dead after this, but I don't fear for them, because this is what I mean when I say I hate certain corporations, and Ubisoft are deserved of that hate. So yeah, I don't want everyone at Ubisoft to lose their jobs. I truly don't. That is, again, I'm not relishing at all in people losing their jobs. This is not that kind of video. It never will be. It really fucking sucks when this happens. I know someone whose life fucking long goal dream, she was a good friend. She worked her ass off as the manager of GameStop. She finally managed to get a job at Blizzard, and all she wanted to do was work on the Halo team. So when Blizzard got bought by Microsoft, she was over the moon, because she was technically one step closer to finally realizing her dream. First wave of layoffs, she went. So I'm not celebrating this, because these are real-life human people at the end of the day. But at the same time, Ubisoft are an absolutely awful fucking company, so yeah, it's going to kind of be a little bit funny when their investors get hurt from this. It sucks that all of the other people are going to get hurt, but I'm building to a positive, and hopefully that positive is what the redemption is here. But, again, and I know I'm jumping all over the place, I see Ubisoft being pretty much guaranteed to die at this moment in time. Square Enix, as I say, I fear for. And it's not so much that Square Enix are not as evil or anything. I fully get all corporations have their issues, but I haven't heard any major issues with Square Enix, whereas with Ubisoft it's like every other week. And Ubisoft are also the people who will fire a team for getting a Game of the Year contender, because the Prince of Persia game that came out recently was on a lot of people's Game of the Year list, and all of that team went. Square Enix tend not to do that. There's a lot of publishers like Capcom, I think will be fine, because they're managing to make games in a very swift timeline, and they're not really taking the piss. They have similar concepts to Nintendo, to be honest, because Nintendo, for all of the hate they get, it's kind of well known that on top of how widely taking that pay cut, the fact that Nintendo charge the money that they charge for their games and don't do constant sales all the time, which they do actually do more sales than a lot of people realise, and all of these price hikes and everything, I'm fine with it. And it's not because I'm a shill for Nintendo. When's the last time Nintendo shut down a dev? And I know it does happen. I know they got rid of the... To be fair, it mightn't be that they shut this dev down. It might have just been that they weren't willing to fund them when they were in straits or something. Because I know the people who did the Mario and Luigi games, they're like the only exception here to this rule that I could think of, because other than that, when do Nintendo shut down studio after studio after studio? And they're the only people who actually still have games coming out on a regular basis. Microsoft and Sony have fucking nothing. Microsoft bought everything, then shut down everything after cancelling everything. Sony, meanwhile, just shut down everything. I've said it a million times, and I will continue to say it. Astrobot was not a celebration of the industry. It was a wake for everything that Sony no longer fucking make. So, GTA coming out, making more than anything, but not enough money to satiate the corporate greedy overlords. All of the shit that's happening at this moment in time is where people seem to think that you can make money. So if investors and everyone start pulling out of all of these studios, as I say, you're going to lose Ubisoft, Square Enix, a couple others I feel could go as well. I'm not trying to make a full hit list here of people that will shut down, because honestly, I don't know the true ramifications. No one will know the true ramifications for any of this happening until it's, the dust is settled. But all of that, all of that does happen. Where's the positive here? Where's the thing that I've been trying to build to, the actual good thing for all of this to happen? So, in the 80s, it was a full gaming crash, and Nintendo had to come along and kind of save everything. Another reason why they kind of get a lot of pass, and another reason why I feel Nintendo will be fine, because they'll be like, yep, we've been here before, we've done this, it sucks, but we can do it again, we can weather this storm. But outside of that, we are in an absolute golden age of video games, and there's a lot of people out there who like to rant and rave about a lot of things, and like to say that gaming is worse these days, and there's a lot of reasons that it actually is. There genuinely are a lot of reasons that it is, from microtransactions to always online to games that are made to essentially function as having to work a 9-to-5 job. There are some genuinely awful things about gaming in this day and age. But my channel is actually quite old, and it started to raise awareness to how many amazing old classic games there are to play. And as it grew, I moved into indies. And I have been championing indies for the longest fucking time. I truly can say I've been championing indies since the fucking day one. That's one of the things that really actually exploded on my channel, was when I went from all of these amazing classics into, and I honestly can't think of any game that I have on the Switch that was available then, but onto all of these fabulous indie games. And we are at an era where blueprints can come out of nowhere and get Game of the Year nominations, where Hollow Knight Silksong can go from being a meme to being a serious Game of the Year contender, and I know a lot of people don't see it as fully indie, and there are definitely some things there, and I fully agree, but where Claire Obscure Expedition 33 wins more awards than fucking any other game in the history of the Video Game Awards, we are in an absolute golden age of fuck it, I'll do it my fucking self. And that's the only way I can actually put this here. There are genuinely some of the most phenomenal, brilliant games coming out, day in, day out, that will cost you 10, 15, 20, 30 pound. Even the likes of Claire Obscure, which was one of the slightly pricier ones, wasn't exactly a bank breaker. If memory serves, it was like £40 on consoles. Maybe it was 50, when a lot of console games these days are up to 80. By the time you get the premium edition, it's up to 100. By the time you get all this, that, and the other, it's up to 120. So the fact that we have games out there that can do that, and yeah, that needed some investment. Silksong, however, that was self-funded. Before that, obviously, Hollow Knight, very famous Kickstarter game. There's so many ways out there that developers, actual people who have all of this amazing talent, all of the know-how, all of the ability and want to make a game but not have the funds, there are so many ways now that these people can actually get out there. So let's see Ubisoft and Square Enix and a lot of other companies completely shut down. Yes, the market is going to very quickly get flooded, and it's going to sadly be one of those cream of the crop scenarios where only the best things do actually go up there. But I think that when this gaming crash happens, it's not so much going to be a gaming crash as a gaming reset. I think Sony and Microsoft might be in severe trouble. Out of an actual console manufacturer thing, I know fine well they're already in a little bit of trouble. So I truly do think if suddenly the fact that they don't have that many games coming out, and then all of this takes a hit, and then they start losing third-party support from companies that are getting shut down, they might genuinely be in trouble. But Nintendo don't actually need Sony and Microsoft to be in the console market to still make games. And I understand there's this whole thing about monopolies and this whole thing about competition breeding creativity and stuff like that. That is fully there. But Nintendo are Nintendo. They're like a self-sustaining ecosystem. So let's see, and I truly am not saying that the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox, whatever the fuck it's called, never comes out. I'm not saying that they'll go bust or anything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they'll have trouble. They really will. And I think things will get a lot worse before they get better for certain places, and they might have to shut down more studios. But let's just say, in a weird scenario that actually they do shut down and they can't make consoles anymore. They literally have to exit the game. Someone will come in to fill that vacuum eventually. We kind of all know who it will be. It'll either be one of the awful corporations like Tencent or Amazon or something like that. There'll be other people making consoles, but until then, we'll have PCs and Switch. And Nintendo will still put out Nintendo games. There'll still be a home for indie games. Steam will be a home for indie games as well. And it'll be more like a great reset than a great crash, I feel, is the only way I can put it. It really will feel more like a reset, and it'll be like, right, we need to really focus on priorities here. We need to stop trying to push for the new and shiny. Instead of constantly pushing for Nvidia's 50 range and 60 range and 70 range, instead of always expecting newer, better processors, maybe if we actually start optimizing our games, like seriously fucking optimizing our games. And I say this, and this is one of the reasons why I'm really glad I waited to actually redo this video. Resident Evil Requiem. I have done a lot of videos on this channel about this game, because it's an absolute masterpiece for one thing, but on top of it being a masterpiece, it is beautiful. It is visually one of the most breathtaking games available on the PC, on modern day consoles, on anything. The Switch 2 version, I'm staggered, looks as good as it does. I genuinely cannot believe they've managed to make a game look this brilliant on hardware that I know fine well is relatively weak, all things considered. It is honestly just mind-blowing what they've managed to do. And the thing that is truly mind-blowing about it is my PC obviously tells me a lot of things. This is, for anyone who doesn't know much about PC gaming, you may not genuinely know how information is displayed to you, and there's a lot of people who do have to do a lot of fine-tuning with their benchmarks and things, but the Resident Evil engine is what they make all of the Resident Evil games on currently. Street Fighter 6 is available on it, Monster Hunter Wilds is on it. To be fair, Rise might be as well, but Monster Hunter Wilds is on it. I cannot run any Resident Evil engine game on my PC at max specs. I've got a good PC. I've got a 4080 Super. I've got something like a Ryzen 9 7800X, I want to say it. Like, I can't remember all of the code and everything. And I've got 32 gig of RAM. I do have a pretty fucking good, pretty fucking beefy PC. And I can't run a single one of the Resident Evil engine games on max specs without dropping the frame rate or resolution or something significantly. I'll be able to run most things at max and get 60 to 90 FPS. Resident Evil 9, everything, absolutely everything maxed out, 100% maxed out. My PC runs it like a dream. There's not a single problem with it, and it's one of the most visually stunning games I've ever played. The sheer work that optimization does is proof that the industry that we are in at the moment and the way we are pushing forward, they're clearly wanting to find ways to spend less time making games, because time is money after all. So instead of actually bothering to optimize all of this stuff, they're like, you know what, let's just make the game and let's just hope that the consumer has the power to be able to run it. So it doesn't matter that our game technically should be able to run on the 30 series of cards. Let's hope that people have the 50 series of cards and can just brute force so that we don't have to spend the time fixing it and optimizing it. The fact that Resident Evil Requiem looks genuinely so good and runs genuinely so good compared to any of the other games, even Resident Evil 2 Remake, if I max everything out, I'll get like a weird warning at times. Warning, you might experience some bugs because of the amount of VRAM that you're currently using. That's usually the thing that comes up all the time. Never happened once on Requiem. And I just set everything to max. We really, as an industry, need to stop pushing new tech and need to instead focus on the tech that we've got. And it's why I'm really hoping that if this crash does happen, it does breed a bunch of positives, and again, we get a reset rather than a crash, and we get devs spending time working on modern day hardware and working to be able to allow people to play games on older hardware. And there's just so much room here for creativity that if we lose a lot of the people who are into gaming for the wrong reasons, aka the investors who only want money, then we'll kind of be left with only the people who actually care about what they're doing, and they will care and they'll try to do it. And I would like to think that we'll get to a point where more games will hit early access as well. I need to do a video on early access, but I'm going to touch on it here and say, I wish, as much as Highguard is not a game for me, and I don't want this to sound mean, I don't actually care that it got deleted out of the ether, because again, it's not a game for me. So it sucks that all those people lost their jobs and that, and it sucks that some people did really enjoy the game and they can't play it anymore. But on my daily existence, it didn't move the needle. If they'd released that game as early access instead, I think it would have done a lot better, and I think there's a lot of devs out there who realise that and are starting to use early access on Steam for a lot of things. The fact that we're getting Hades 2 and Slay the Spire 2, two very established, well-known games, still wanted to launch in early access because it's a good way to gauge how much interest you've got, get some money, and to be supported while you're actually developing the game and making sure you're making the game that the fans are happy with. And it's happening with the likes of Kickstarter as well. I've just backed the Cyberpunk trading card game. Now, obviously, that's a totally different kind of game, but the reason they've done that, they understand that when launching a game, like any new trading card game, there's going to be scalpers and demand and a bunch of other things that make it a problem for people to actually get into it. So by doing it on Kickstarter, they're basically going, yeah, whatever you pay us, you'll get your product. So this is a way for us to basically know how much to print, and once we've done the first initial printing of all of the decks that have been ordered, all of the boosters have been ordered, then we'll actually manufacture it as a regular game and we'll just launch product, and people who want to get into it will be able to get into it. Like, there's so many avenues for developers and creative ways to do funding and to actually work on games and to make it so that instead of shutting these things down 3 months after launch because they haven't made enough money, they'll actually be able to hopefully sustain themselves. And yeah, there's not enough money, there's not enough time in the world, there's not enough people for everyone to be able to succeed. I have to choose where to spend my money, I have to choose where I put my time. It doesn't matter how good your game looks if I'm already invested in 17 other things at this moment in time and I literally don't have the time to play it, therefore I'm not going to buy it. All of that rings true, and it's why there'll never be a full guarantee that all of these new indies that would come out of this crash would actually thrive. But at the same time, it's why I don't think it'll be a crash to the point of everything will go overnight, we'll lose everything, gaming will just completely obliterate. Gaming's too big now. That would be like saying that movies would just disappear overnight. There was a real threat at one point in life when video games truly could have just been any other fad. We are long past this being a fad. So it's why, as much as a crash would fucking suck, there could also be some real benefits to come out of it. And just, again, to go back to looking what you can do with modernization, look at the likes of Donkey Kong Country here, and Starwing as well. When these games came out, and I've just realised I've said Starwing, which is obviously the European name, but it would be known as Star Fox for a lot of people. When these games came out, people genuinely couldn't believe what had happened with the graphics on their console. It was unheard of back then to be able to do this, and obviously this used the Super FX chip that was required in the cartridges and that, so that was still new technology. And I understand that, but it was new technology that was actually coming in the cartridges themselves, so it wasn't something the consumer was technically having to buy. It wasn't like you needed to... Well, I actually have the perfect facsimile for this, thanks to Nintendo. It wasn't like you were releasing The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask and then telling people, hey, if you want to use that, you're going to need to buy a new expansions pack to go in your slot in the front of your console. At least this one, the Super FX chip, was more of a consumer-friendly one, where just buying the game got you access to the new technology. But we don't really need that these days. We don't need to buy something to plug into our existing consoles. We just need to give developers the time and resources to be able to actually get the real power out of it. Because this is always the way console gaming used to fucking work. Games at the end of the console's lifespan look and run better than games at the early part of the console's lifespan because developers know how to use the tech and use the power. But the way gaming has been going, instead of focusing on that It's a case of when we finally just start getting a handle on it, and devs are finally just starting to get all of the power out of the console, you get like maybe 1 to 2 years of games being released at the height of the console system, and then, yep, time to move on to the next thing. We don't, and that is a consumerism problem. That is definitely a capitalism problem. That's one of the things that's ruining gaming at large. We do not need console gens this fast. Back in the day, when tech moved so fast it was unbelievable, we did kinda need console gens every 4 to 5 years. I, quite frankly, would take a console generation once every 15 fucking years right now. And I think a lot of people would as well. Because at the end of the day, as long as games are actually coming out, you're going to get some really good fucking results. And I know 15 years may seem wild, but we've already been slowly building towards 10 years, and the likes of the console generation we've got now, and another reason why it feels like we're building towards a crash, look at what's actually came out for the fucking Xbox and the PlayStation 5 this gen. Almost fucking nothing. And they're talking about releasing new consoles. Why? We've already had a pro version of the fucking PlayStation 5 with nothing to play on it. It was one of the most famous stories, is the fact that people were saying, oh yeah, like barely anything actually has a pro patch. So it's like, why are we paying this money? Just to fucking brute force games that didn't run that well because people didn't get the time to optimize them. Again, it's money. It's like always to throw money at a problem instead of just actually fixing the problem. So it's why I am weirdly hopeful that if we do get a gaming crash, it will be a reset instead, and it will actually be for the betterment of gaming long term. It'll suck in the intermediate, but overall, I actually do think it'll fucking benefit gamers. So with that, this video is finally at an end, and holy fucking shit do I need a drink right now. So yeah, until the next time, I truly do hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'm gonna go have a drink now. Bye.